Hi guys, and welcome back to a new K-Arts video, this time a highly requested one about the audition for the acting department at K-Arts. I hope this video will answer some of your questions and help you a little bit. However, I have to say I auditioned in 2014, which is already a long time ago. And in the meanwhile, the procedure and the requirements also have changed a little bit. So before you apply, make sure to recheck all the requirements, the schedule, the procedure on the homepage. They will keep you updated. So make that sure. However, I still hope that my experience can kind of help you a little bit. And to make this video a little bit more effective, I divided the video into different parts. And the first part is the preparation for the audition. Everybody has their own ways to prepare for an audition. However, in Korea, a lot of Korean students who want to go to K-Arts, they attend a special private school, which is called Hagwon. And especially for the entrance exam from acting school, it's called 입시 학원. So they are focused on getting students into Korean acting schools, and those schools can be quite expensive. So actually, when I was preparing for K-Arts audition, I also thought about getting into one of those schools, and I even had an interview. And that 입시 학원, the entrance private school, was quite expensive. So I thought, is it worth it? And luckily at that time, I was actually involved in a Korean theater play, and one of the actors said, hey, just come 30 minutes earlier and I will look at your monologue. And he helped me with the pronunciation, with the acting. So that helped me quite a lot, but it's also good to maybe find a study group to prepare together, see how other students are doing. If you're just doing it alone, it can be quite boring and exhausting, so I would totally recommend you to ask a friend, even if it's not a person who is actually acting, just to look at your monologue, give you some tips, just get some other opinions. And I already talked about the monologue. Actually, the monologue is the most important thing for the audition. And maybe you already have a monologue you really like from a play or a movie or a drama you're really into. But it can be quite difficult to find the right monologue for me. In my case, I searched such a long time on the internet. I borrowed so many books that just contain monologues for acting auditions, and it was actually fun to read all those different plays and get to know even more plays and dramas and movies. But it's really important to find a monologue that fits well to you. And in case of K-Arts, they will ask you to do the monologue in Korean. So you don't necessarily have to find a Korean play or a Korean movie. You can also translate it. Actually, a lot of Korean students take maybe a text from Shakespeare or Molière or a Greece tragedy, and then there's the translation of the work, and they just do the monologue in Korean. And sometimes the translation can be quite difficult, so I recommend you to find a Korean monologue that you are really comfortable in speaking, because old Korean style, like even Shakespeare language, we don't use it like in all-day language, can be quite difficult for us. But if it's in Korean, it might be even more awkward, so maybe you just can feel free to change it to a language that you feel actually comfortable with. And in my case, I took a monologue from Anne Frank's diary, which is actually written in German, and I found a Korean translation of the work, but I wasn't really happy with the translation, so I translated it again with the help of a Korean friend. And what I can say from my personal experience is that it's really important to find a monologue that you are comfortable with and that you feel I can show my natural self. So you don't necessarily have to express so many emotions like shouting or crying, laughing. It should just be your true self, and be sure of all the emotions that are there and just feel comfortable. So after the screening of the documents, I actually got the invitation for the audition, and usually it is announced on the homepage, or you will be contacted by email or by phone directly, and then you will get the date and the time. And please make sure to be there on time, just in case you have another appointment. Let them know in advance, and then they can change your schedule. That is no problem, but if you're too late, you're not allowed to enter. And the audition for K-Arts is actually held in the university in the theater department. So during that time, it is really just an audition place. And then there's one room, you go there, register yourself, you will get a number and you will put it like here. And you will have to give your phone and all your personal stuff, just that it's you. And then you will enter one room, and in that room you can just feel free to stretch yourself, to practice your monologue again, just to do some meditation or whatever you need to prepare. And I still remember it was the first time actually I ever went to an audition, and I didn't really know how to prepare, like what I should wear and everything. And I wore this pretty pink dress, a really short one, and I went there and everybody else was wearing like trousers or even the big Korean like comfortable black dresses, and they were moving and stretching, and me and my little dress, I couldn't even do a lot of stretching, so I was just standing there pretending to stretch my body. So I felt a little bit uncomfortable. So I can totally recommend you to just wear comfortable clothes, where you can like stretch your body and just be prepared. And another tip I can give you is don't wear too much makeup. I actually heard in another case that one girl came with full makeup, and the judges, so the professor, said, "We want to see your natural face because that's important also for an actor." And they asked her to put all the makeup off. So if you go to an audition, it's important just to show your natural self, so don't put too much makeup on your face. And another tip, when I went to the audition room, so the preparation room, I felt kind of uncomfortable because I started to compare myself to the other students. They were like shouting and crying in that corner, and everything was really like emotional, and I thought, oh my god, my monologue is so flat and I should do something more dramatic. But just don't get confused by the other people. They have their monologues and you have yours, you have prepared it. So just stay confident. So for the audition itself, you will enter the room, and in the front row there are maybe 4 or 5 professors, the judges, sitting. And then you just shortly introduce yourself. Usually you do not even say your name, just the number. And then you directly start with the monologue. So you have a chair and also a cubic, just in case you need something to sit on or to act with. And then you just do your monologue. And in my case, I remember I started with a Korean one, but I did prepare it in German and also in English, just in case they ask you, can you do it also in your mother tongue? But they didn't, so I just did it in Korean. And after the monologue, they might ask you to show some of your special skills. Maybe you have prepared something like a song or a movement, dancing or some instrument. In my case, I didn't prepare any special skills, so I directly went on with the interview. And then after the monologue, you will sit down in front of the judges and they will start asking you questions. And they already have all the information about you. So they do know who you are, where you come from, what you have been doing so far, and also maybe your personal statement, why you want to go to K-Arts. And they will ask you questions referring to those information. In my case, because I'm a foreigner, they asked me also about my Korean skills. Not only how good are you in Korean, they actually asked me what kind of Korean books I read and what kind of movies I like. So just to see if I'm actually like understanding not only the Korean language, but also the context. And that's why I want to really recommend all of you who want to study at K-Arts as a foreigner to read some Korean books, some plays, watch a lot of Korean movies, just to feel comfortable actually in the Korean language, not only in speaking and reading, but actually like everything that has to do with acting. And then they also asked me why I want to study in Korea and not in Germany or another country, and also about my future plans. So the questions they asked, it really depends on the person, on your personal experience, what you have done so far. Sometimes they will ask you about some former performance or why you want to start acting if you haven't done anything in acting yet. And I think they just want to see how interested you really are in attending the school, how passionate you are. And I actually felt quite comfortable because they are really nice. They don't want to harm you, so you don't have to be too scared about the interview itself. And I think I also mentioned the curriculum of K-Arts because I was really fond of the curriculum itself because it contains so much practical exercises. So in my case, I studied media science before as a bachelor, and it was really just theory. So I actually felt so comfortable with just studying with a book and writing something. But K-Arts schedule is really practical, so I told them that I like that very much, and it will be a big challenge for me, but I think that I can grow through this challenge. But that were basically the questions they asked me. So after the audition, it might take around 2 or 3 weeks until you get noticed, and usually they upload the results on the homepage, so usually everybody is rechecking it every day. In my case, they actually called me, maybe because I'm a foreigner and they thought I don't know how to check the homepage, I don't know. And I still remember I was taking a nap in my room and the phone rang and I answered it, and the person from the office said, "Congratulations, you welcome to K-Arts." And I was so happy. I just cried so much, so the person was kind of confused, but I was just so happy. And yes, that is how my journey at K-Arts started. I hope this video helped you a little bit just to give you an overview about the audition itself. I do know that it can be really tiring to prepare for the audition because sometimes you don't really know if you're doing the right stuff. So just to tell you again, my personal tips are: find a very good monologue, prepare in advance, read a lot of books, a lot of plays, watch a lot of dramas and movies in the Korean language. And if you have somebody who can just have a look at your monologue, maybe also at your pronunciation, that helps a lot. Ask your friends, even if they're not actors, that will give you a lot of help. And yes, just feel confident in what you're doing, feel comfortable, and then that should be no problem. Don't be too scared. I hope this video helped you a little bit. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I see you next time. Bye.